the entire village depends on 1 or 2 people who are earning a salary, because the salaried Kenyans are very few. We're talking about 4 million people who support,
50 million.
50 million.
Hi, and welcome to Fanya Mambo Africa. Super excited. Every time I have a lady on this panel, I'm always happy because I always have Fanya Mambo himself. So every time I switch, it becomes such a fun time. And today I'm super excited because I have one of the most, I will say, I don't know if how architects rate themselves as senior, but one of the most acclaimed architects in the country. How are you, Sylvia?
I'm so fine. Thank you so much for having me.
So could you introduce yourself the best way possible to our viewers?
All right. Thank you so much. And thanks for having me here on Fanya Mambo. I'm Sylvia Mwangi Kasanga. First, I'm an architect by profession. I've had my practice for 21 years this year.
Wow.
That is quite a milestone. So you can consider me not quite senior in architecture. I'm still young. In architecture, I'm still young. At 20 years, you're still young. Actually, that's when the career now really begins to pick. Okay. So senior architects are those who've been in the industry for maybe 35 to 40 years. Remember, architecture is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I could be called maybe seasoned, or just been around architect at 21 years, but very proud because I have run the firm. I was the founder of the firm, and I'm still the senior partner at the firm. So I'm proud of that. And then secondly, I am an arbitrator. I'm a dispute resolver. Yes, I love dispute resolution away from courts. So I'm an arbitrator. I listen mostly to construction-related cases because in arbitration, you become an arbitrator when you're an industry expert. So even you, Sarah, whatever you're an expert at, if 2 people in the same industry come and they have an issue, you can resolve their problems because you understand the trade.
Do I need to go?
Yeah, but you have to train. Yes, you have to go to school.
I was about to start the cases.
You have to go and study. I do a little bit of law, the law of contract, the law of tort, the law of evidence, but you don't have to be a lawyer to resolve industry
issues.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, then of course I'm a senator. I have the title of senator. I served in the last parliament, that is the 12th parliament. I had an experience of sitting in that house, that is the House of Parliament, and in Senate specifically. And I served as a nominated member, nominated by the Wiper Democratic Movement. And I know we shall talk about that.
Yeah.
And currently I sit on several boards, and I still do a bit of advocacy work. Yes, I do. I still engage. I'm one of the founding members of an organization called the Architects Alliance. It's an association, it's a professional association for architects. And the purpose why I felt we needed to do that is because architects as professionals are not engaging in the public discourse. And we are missing in that space, and we need to. And we have a lot of young people coming up into the industry who need a lot of mentorship, and not just professional, but also teaching them and training them that as a professional, you also have a duty to the society. And architects are problem solvers naturally. So
interesting.
Yeah, we could easily participate in the public discourse. And I mean politics, policy, governance and leadership and such like things. So I still engage, even though I'm out of politics for now because our Azimio formation lost. But we are still engaging.
Still engaging.
Yes.
Hey, you have such a huge profile. I wouldn't have done it justice, honestly.
Thank you.
But it's so good to have you. Also, it's good to hear that you have an association for architects. Mm-hmm. So you'll also tell us why houses are always collapsing, perhaps.
We can discuss that as well.
And also why the president was not able to deliver houses as promised.
Yes.
Yeah, so expect quite a huge, heavy discussion on this.
Yes.
But before we get to all that, maybe just understanding, you served in the Senate.
Yes.
A lot of people don't understand how, basically, the role of Senate in Kenya.
Yes.
What role did you play, and do you feel the Senate is still necessary for the country?
Yeah. Oh, wow. There are lots of things around, the issues around why probably citizens don't feel the impact of the Senate. Whereas in the Constitution, it is clearly stipulated its role and its mandate as the overseer of the devolved units, which are a very pertinent part of Kenyans' lives. Because when you look at the Schedule 4 of our Constitution on the devolved functions, those are actually the functions that the citizen encounters on a daily basis. You're about health, food, education, that is part education, because I think for counties it is primary, ECD and primary school. And those are such critical parts of a citizen. So the devolved unit is so critical. And the senators are supposed to oversee what the governors are doing. The governors and the county assembly. Remember, the governor is checked by the county assembly. So there's that mimicking of what is happening at the top country's executive level happening at the county level. So the person who checks what is going on down there is supposed to be the senator. Now, the House of Senate, there are certain powers that during the process of devolving, if you remember now when we're transitioning to the new Constitution 2010, there are some areas there that were missed out on in terms of legislation that the National Assembly was supposed to have put in place that would have given Senate then the upper house powers. And the consecutive governments have made sure that the Senate does not get to that level. And this is deliberate. This is deliberate. When you hear a lot of complaints happening around the parliament being captured by the executive, because the executive wants to control parliament so that their agenda can pass without much accountability, these are the challenges. So whereas in 2010, we should have seen an evolution of Senate where the Senate then becomes the upper house above the National Assembly, that has never come to be. 2012, the president and the vice president then also captured the house. And they made sure, no, we have only this house to deal with. We don't need another powerful house to deal with. So they made sure they sit on these things. And the same is happening to this current government, as you have seen. And it is the most unfortunate thing because we have not seen and enjoyed the true fruits of our new constitution, because a lot of the issues that are envisaged have not yet been actualized. Yet it is a function of the National Assembly to actualize some of these. Those are the challenges. But the House of Senate is still very critical. And even with the powers that it has right now, even though they feel not so impactful for the citizen himself, there's that which that goes on in that house that is very critical. There are committees that are actually looking at what the counties are doing, the public accounts committees and those, which actually do look at what counties are doing, and they want to hold the governors to account.
And they work for real.
And it works, yes, it actually works.
Then why are we having, case scenario, impeachment of Gachagua, the way it was done was very questionable about the Senate. We've seen the impeachment of, was it Kericho governor who also became,
yes.
There was the Kawira Mwangaza, it now looks like it's a joke. Even in the previous where you sat, we had the Governor Wambora story.
Yeah, now the issues of impeachments, we do know are also there's a very big political angle. It's not always merit. When it comes to impeachments, don't forget, while there are quasi-judicial sittings, done by Senate, in the end, there's also the political angle. Always consider that when you're thinking about the governance and what you saw with Gachagua. Those were purely political issues.
So as a citizen, sorry, I'm cutting you on this. As a citizen, should I then entrust you as a senator to deliver, or should I look at it and fine, I'll understand it's politics?
You can't really separate the function from the politics. And I do agree with you. A lot of it gets lost in the translation. That's not to say that your senator is not performing his duties or oversighting his county. Those duties are still going on. But when the politics now comes to play, and the Gachagua one is a very unique one. I hope you do understand that is very unique. It is challengeable by law, by everything, the way it was conducted, the way it was handled, even the way the new deputy president was onboarded without an IEBC. I mean, you can see the hand of a government that has completely taken over and corrupted the parliamentarians. Why do they allow themselves to get corrupted? That is also another question. They have to account to citizens when it's time for the vote. But those are those issues, and they're there. We don't deny that they are there. And you can decide today as a voter and decide to punish all those parliamentarians over these things that have happened through the vote and say, you don't go back there. You are just having drama and things like that. But I think just to answer your question is that the functions of the Senate are still there and they're still impactful. Yes, the current membership of our Senate and National Assembly have disappointed Kenyans significantly because they have allowed themselves to be bought, they have allowed themselves to be puppets of the executive, and we will punish them for that when the vote comes. But that does not take away the fact that the houses actually are empowered to deliver for Kenyans.
So it's just a choice.
It is a choice they make. This is just a choice. It's a choice when somebody decides, I'm going to take this money so that I vote out this guy because that's what this person wants, and then I look back on my duties to the citizen. It's a choice they make.
So you'd tell the citizens to 100% accept the Senate is critical for this country?
Yes, and you're mixing the issues. I really want you to separate the issues. The way the Senate has been set up by law and by constitution, it is a very critical body, and yes, it can deliver to the citizens. Are the current members delivering to the citizens as per their mandate? That's a different question.
Yeah.
And you can easily say no, because you're not satisfied. Maybe they've forgotten about accountability, and now they're just going after, whatever they're going, and the drama around parliament, and there are still members in there, by the way, isolated cases who are actually doing their work. You can't really bunch all of them as one. You will still find isolated members in National Assembly and in Senate who are actually delivering for their people. It is happening.
Yeah.
I think yesterday's Ipsos
Infotrack.
It was Infotrack. I mean, you can see there are people who are actually working for their citizens. In spite of all the drama that is happening in Parliament, the fact remains is that the instruments that have been put to govern are good. They are in place to a good extent that our citizens should actually be enjoying those fruits. But there are some characters. They are given a mandate by people, the citizens, they enter into that house and they forget who put them there and why. And they decide to do their own personal tumbo economics of taking care of their own interests. And that is what is ailing our country today. And it is not just in Parliament where we are having this sickness. I hope you do realize.
Yeah.
We can point our fingers at our representatives in Parliament. But the tumbo economics is happening everywhere in our country. We've become very inward-looking, selfish people. It's happening there even in our professions, and it's a conversation of now ethics that we need to now start having as a society and say, we have a fundamental flaw in how we are viewing ourselves as a community. We are not engaging genuinely as a community where you care about this other person. You care about your brother and your sister. You care that my action that I do right here actually affects very many people around me. These days we've become, it is me, myself, and I. As long as I have my money, my car, my house, I'm okay. You're forgetting that the decisions that you make also affect the people around you. It's a very big problem, and it's a serious societal problem.
And with this problem, somewhere last year in June, we had the Gen Z uprising of some sort. Of course, pretty pushed by this dissatisfaction as the citizenry. Do you feel that now moving forward, leadership was shifted in a way, and probably moving forward, senators will be, or even MPs, or even the president will be expected to do as per the law and as to why they were put in place? Because as it is, even today, you come up with something, quote unquote, stupid, people fight you online. They're not on the street, but they're online. And some people now have been forced to stay away or be very calculative in how they do it. Is that impactful?
My view about the Gen Z revolution and the current leadership that we have, and a lot of the leadership in a lot of spheres, but let's concentrate on the political one, where, in my view, the government actually fell. The day the Gen Zs walked into parliament, or rather ran into parliament, or whichever way you want to take, they seized parliament. In my view, the government fell on that day. But since that day, the government and the leadership has failed to really understand what it is that the Gen Zs were saying to them. And instead, what have they done is gang up opposition, a current executive, gang up against the citizens of Kenya for their own self-preservation. That's exactly what has happened. Nobody is addressing the issues that the Gen Zs raised. And that is my personal opinion. And I know it is true. And because
I
the Gen
agree
Zs,
with you, though.
Yeah. And because the Gen Zs have realized when we fight on the streets, we are being killed. We fight where we can and where we can command, which is in the software. So there's a war going on in this country. We are actually a country at war. We are a country at war, in my view. War these days, we're in modern society. War does not have to be guns. But the war is going on in our social media. And that is where they reign and that's where they go. And our leaders are still not getting it, what these young people are saying. And my prayer, and part of my advocacy work that I'm doing, is now helping these young people begin to organize themselves. Because you can only ascend into power through our constitutional means. There's no any other way. So you have to be organized in certain ways that are constitutionally acceptable. And our duty now as leaders is to train them and hold their hands and mentor them so that they can come up and take up leadership. And take this. This country is actually theirs. It is their country. We are supposed to be holding it in trust. But what are we doing as leaders? We are not even communicating with them. They try these issues of divide and rule. You take a few who are prominent, now you bring them on board, you put them there so that you show we have brought Gen Zs on board. All that is just a game. Yeah. So that is my view when it comes to how the handling of the Gen Zs has been going on, which is unfortunate. And the fact that the government is still disappearing Gen Zs is the worst thing. How do you fight with people who are not even armed? I don't even get it. What sort of insecurity is this that you have as a leader, that you can go after the smallest person probably, who can never harm you, who you're supposed to be nurturing, nurturing because he's a resource to the country, a great resource. What better resource than human resource in any nation? These are our resources, but how are we treating them? We're disappearing them. The pain of the parents, their neighbors, and their relatives really is going to haunt this government in a big way.
I think it's already haunting them.
Yeah, it's a very unfortunate situation.
And last week, the president was in Isiolo and he was heckled. And after that, I think the following day, there was a sweep up of the town and young people were arrested because they disagreed with the president, which I found very unfortunate. He even said during his campaign, he was saying people are using drugs, people are selling drugs in Isiolo, which is not it. When you're in parliament, you had a bill which ended up, of course, being signed into an act about mental health. Do you believe the young people are mentally stable, or is it really an action of anger? Is it a mental health issue, or is it an anger affair?
Oh my goodness.
Or dissatisfaction?
It is just a dissatisfied population. And men, are we not all dissatisfied? And for once, even the elites in the society are feeling the pinch of the government policies today. Everybody is feeling it. If me and my payslip, I have been raided to the extent I've been raided, that means the microeconomy that I support, which means all the people who work for me, are now also affected. And the people who work for them are also affected. Because we are in such a society where the entire village depends on one or two people who are earning a salary. Because the salaried Kenyans are very few. We're talking about, 4 million people who support,
50 million.
50 million Kenyans. Now you've raided these 4 million. They're feeling the pain. So obviously the pain is going to be felt all the way down. We are an unhappy population. And the people who are bearing the brunt of this unhappiness, unfortunately, it's the young people. Because you're stealing their dreams and their hopes. You've taken, your parent has struggled to take you to school. Umenda shule, umesoma. You come out and there's nothing there for you. Absolutely nothing. You try this, you try that, because they're very resourceful, they're very creative and innovative, so you try different things, I've come across young architects who have just graduated, who have had to do all sorts of odd things just to get a shilling or two. Because also you have a bit of pride, you can't keep going back to your parents. You are the quintessential architect. I've educated you, what more can I do for you? But you go out there, the young person has no work. What do you expect these people to do? What do you expect these young people to do? They're unhappy, they're dissatisfied. The entire population of Kenya today is unsatisfied, is dissatisfied, is unhappy. And yes, it it does also affect our mental wellness because it increases the stress levels. What do I do when I don't know where I'm going to eat next? Me, I'm sometimes wondering where will I get money to pay salaries, the next round of salaries. Not to mention that in NSSF, I think they're supposed to, I don't know, start doing what? And I'm thinking, again, I might have to knock off 2 other people from the payroll so that I can sustain the payroll of the few who are remaining. This government, the policy has been so painful. It's causing a lot of anxiety in our society. Anxiety is a mental health illness because if we don't have ways of dealing with anxiety, then it can escalate to more serious issues. That's why Kenyans are angry. These days, don't even try and point fingers or attack somebody who has, when you're driving, has cut you off. Because you don't know what that person is going through. Don't try and hoot at the pedestrian who's obviously crossing the road, completely oblivious that there's a car that could hit him. His mind is so far away. He's worried about maybe some little money he needs to raise because somebody is sick. Then the worst thing, our feeling systems, our healthcare is failing. So we have more and more sick. Kenyans are sick more and more and more. We are raising more and more money for hospital bills. They're raising more and more money for all sorts of things. Our systems are not working. Shifsha, I don't know who. The fact remains, even if the government tries to say, okay, fine, you're starting something new, whatever. The fact that Kenyans were not even involved in it first is the challenge. All right? But now we are having to, cough up money from everywhere to fund this program. Okay? By the time they get enough funds to run it, Kenyans are suffering. Hospitals have money. I mean, the pictures you see, sometimes it's even difficult to watch news.
Very difficult.
You see pictures of a hospital somewhere and you're like, no, sure. In this my own country, in this 3 trillion budget country, hii pesa tunapelekanga wapi? Hizi loans tumelipa zimetufanyia nini? You can see there's something not right.
Yeah.
So it is frustration. The youths in Isiolo are frustrated. They had an opportunity to express themselves. A lot of others it's there, it's on the social media, you can see their frustrations. But there's a glimmer of hope. I always say, I'm a very optimistic person, Sarah, because I've seen a glimmer of hope in youths coming up and saying, you guys, let's just organize ourselves. They're telling themselves, let's organize ourselves. Let's not wait for these grown-ups to organize us. Let's get organized, and they're beginning to put themselves together. And every time somebody reaches out to me, one of those youths who are in some formation that is organized, I'm very happy to listen to them. What do you want to achieve? How do you plan to organize yourself? I give them my thoughts. I give them my ideas. I make phone calls. Where do you want to go? Who do you want to meet? What do you need? And I try and help them because we must help them organize themselves. They are going to be our only solution.
At this, and when you look at all these policies and the abductions and the everyday telling people this has to be done, we have to tax you. I'm sure when you worked on the mental health bill, there were things you had done on the ground in terms of research to understand. What do you think the impact will be in society? It may not be now, but say in 2, 3, 5 years. Of course, having gone through this cycle of bad governance.
Yeah, there'll be a very big
and
impact.
The cost implication.
Yeah, there'll be a very big impact. In fact, there was one, the task force on mental health that was put together by the then president in 2019. That was at the heart of our mental health campaign when we had just started off. And the government appointed this task force. And one of their findings were social determinants, the things that cause Kenyans, aggravated mental illnesses. Yeah? And they had several of them. From things like war, hunger. Hunger does affect the economy. Plays a very big role in effects to the mental health. Yeah, it does. Anxiety caused by political situations. The anxiety that is around politics. That's why there's a madness around politics. And when we keep the country in a political mood, it means there's anxiety in the whole country. What's going to happen? What's going to happen next? Like now, let me just give you an example. Like now, the anxiety that we are all encountering right now with the ruling that was given in Parliament. Yeah, Speaker Wetangula goes and rules against what the judiciary has ruled. Yeah. So obviously, you can see now ODM and the opposition side are now thinking, okay, we thought we were in a broad-based government. Now, clearly, we are not
We're
in
the
a
government.
broad-based government. So now what are we going to do? Will we walk out? Will we remove the speaker? Will we put a motion of no confidence on the president? I mean, right now in the country where we are at, tomorrow could wake up a very different country. That is the level of politics that we are playing right now. It's so charged. So Kenyans, of course, are going to be anxious because a lot of the things that we do, unfortunately, are pegged on our politics. We've not matured enough as a country to separate politics and systems. The way you see in other countries, other more progressive states and jurisdictions where they can even run a whole year without a president because their systems are so entrenched and they're so strong. We are yet to reach there. For us, our systems are pegged on the politics. Yeah. If tomorrow we have to go for a presidential campaign, it's like everything comes to a standstill.
Yeah.
You're going to pick siasa, and then now the country can continue. Let me tell you, those are the things that cause anxiety to any human being. So Kenyans are in an anxious state. It's not good for our mental health. And yes, it will affect us several years down the line. And why will it be a problem down the line? Because, number two, we do not have the capacity. We've never upped our capacity on dealing with mental illnesses. The gap has always been there. This particular government, in fact, I have not had any conversations on mental health. In fact, for me, it really breaks my heart because we had really gained some leeway in the last government. We had now, by then, Parliament had introduced budget lines for the Malaria Hospital, and we are mandating now county governments to now start setting up their mental health boards and, looking at bringing practitioners closer to the people. Because how you deal with this is bring practitioners closer to the people, fight stigma, and look at preventative methods. Because we don't have the care, the hospital care is still a big gap for us. It's an expensive investment. We are not doing that. We are not doing that at all. So this anxiety that is being created on such a large scale and not being dealt with will be a problem for us in another year or two. Have no doubt about it. When you see the number of the cases, and these days they are no longer reported, the number of people who are taking away their lives because of excess anxiety that leads to depression. You're so depressed. Your world has become dark. You have no more solutions to take your life. The statistics are appalling. The depression statistics are appalling. We are no longer making public such things, and it is happening. It is happening in our midst, and it's happening in a huge, huge scale. And what are we doing about it? Nothing.
Vibes and inshallah, as they say. And it's a government system, which is unfortunate.
Yes, we are not in a good place.
Okay. Somehow one of the things that gives people comfort is when they know they have a job. So, and in Kenya as it is, unemployment is such a big problem. Even the president has acknowledged. And so one of the things he decided when he got in, I don't know out of whose advice, was to introduce the affordable housing, which now was supposed to sort a problem, but has ended up being a problem. One, because of pay slips. Two, because he overpromised that he was to deliver about 200,000 houses per year. Just the other day, the report says even 1,000 is still a mirage as we speak. Why is this?
The conversation on the affordable housing is a sad conversation. One, government has no business in building homes for its citizens. Government should be building homes for civil servants and slum upgrading projects, where you are then really transitioning somebody who has no capacity then to own a home. You transition them by creating a home for them, and after some time they transition when their fortunes get better. It's social housing. It's called social housing. Yeah? That's all the government is supposed to be doing. But to say you're going to build homes for Kenyans is no business for a government. A government is supposed to create an environment and allow the forces of supply and demand to function on their own. Which are these Kenyans who went and told the government, build all these houses and we shall uptake them? Paka, you're building apartments in Garissa and Isiolo and
Kakamega,
Narok, where you have pastoralists. You've not even considered the needs of a pastoralist community. You've not even considered some cultural issues on housing that our communities also have. There's so much that was not conceptualized properly. Kenyans today, if you were to give mortgages that are less than, let's say, 9% interest and fixed interest, to be payable within 15 years, lots of Kenyans will organize to get their own home. And the developers will start building houses. And employment will be there for Kenyans. It is just that simple. But the idea that the government is the one that will do the work, they create these tenders that are only given to specific people. We don't know how these tenders are awarded, okay? So I want to assume they are awarded to cronies, because yesterday's newspaper had a big, I think it was The Nation or was it the Business Daily that had a big, about a crony of the president who is banned from this country, has now come back and has, bagged one lucrative affordable housing. Yeah. So you can see it is crafted around an intention that is not for Kenyans, and that's the fact. And it's being shoved down our throats to the point where government land is now being used for affordable housing. And this one I can tell you for a fact, because as the Architects Alliance, we participated in the policy, trying to tell the government they're doing it the wrong way. We presented our memorandum. We even appeared before the Houses of Parliament and Senate to tell them this thing is wrongly conceptualized and it needs to be rethought. Go back to the drawing board and think it afresh. But of course, by the time you're going for public participation, it's a
process
It's just a process to tick a box by law. It is most unfortunate because National Land Commission was also present, to advise the government and tell them, you cannot have government land, build apartments and then sell them to people. You can't do that. So we have legal questions around affordable housing that one day will have to be dealt with. That is the reality. One day these questions will be asked and the illegalities will be challenged. And God knows what is going to happen at that point.
And those buildings will come down.
Most likely those buildings will have to come down. And even if they don't come down, the consequences, they're unfathomable. I can't even imagine how we are going to begin to unravel some of those things, Government land is left for a reason, for purposes for community use and things like that, not to just build, apartments like that. So the whole thing is wrongly conceptualized. It has potential to affect the entire industry significantly because you're taking away, the market forces as they are supposed to work on their own. Demand, supply, investors, buyers, that sort of a thing.
Yeah.
Buy land and, invest and create jobs in the process and do things like that. Yeah. They're taking that away and it has a serious potential impact. It is unfortunate also when the rumors come, and the rumors in Kenya, where they smoke,
there's fire.
Yeah. The rumors are suggesting that some of these projects have been created and they're ring-fencing even supply of materials to certain companies, that cement will be supplied by so and so, what will be supplied by who. And when you hear the names that are behind some of these, they're the top dogs in the country. So these guys have gone into the executive to create for themselves a wealth machine at the detriment of Kenyans.
Out of people's taxes.
Of our future. It's really unfortunate. So these questions, one day, they will be asked, they will be challenged, and they will be dealt with. But the whole program needed to be conceptualized properly. It started wrong, and it can never be right.
Of course, if you don't fix the foundation,
it can never be right.
Every time the president speaks about employment, he's very huge on saying our affordable whatever project has employed so many. Now that you work with an architectures association, how many of you have gotten jobs or how many people have we employed?
Oh no, it's a total mess because even the way they engaged the architects was in a way that we have never seen before. And I know some of the architects who went on and got engaged have already even quit because their engagement is not clear. There are not even contracts for the architects. They don't even know what they are being paid. I think the government was suggesting they pay them some small percentage. And we said, as an architect, you can't be paid that. You have a duty to provide services to a certain extent. You have to be compensated as the law says you should be compensated. So I know there's even an issue in how the consultants, who are engaged. But the fact remains, how many of those projects have actually been to site? Very few. Very few. Because the issues are glaring and they are many and they are outstanding. Secondly, do we even as a country have capacity to build that many homes in a year? It's impossible.
200,000.
It's impossible. It's impossible. Which number of contractors have that capacity to build? Even if today you brought 40 billion here, you give somebody to do that work that quickly. How? That capacity we don't have. We don't have. The Chinese maybe have that capacity because they have understood how to build cities in days. They build highways overnight. You hear such things, they build highways overnight. We don't have that kind of capacity to build that quickly. And in a way, I am actually grateful that it is not happening as quickly as they want because of the fact that they've started wrong. It's already wrong the way they started. And I'm glad that it's not moving as fast. Because if it was moving as fast, then we'll have a lot of challenges trying to resolve, the challenges that are coming with it. But it is because it started wrong that they're finding themselves in the problem that they're finding it. And again, because a lot of it is conceptualized around tumbo economics of a few people. It's why it's not flying. Even public participation, the truth is, when they did public participation and went around the country, Kenyans rejected it. That's a fact.
But let me ask you.
Kenyans rejected it.
We rejected as Kenyans, but the Tumbocrats are still benefiting in the sense that the whole idea of having, what is it called? The one you cut, the amount of money they get out of you, the housing, whatever. No, the housing.
The levy.
Yes, the levy that you have to contribute. So that is working. Yeah. So the delivery is what is not working. Yeah. But in terms of, yes. Yeah. My question, as someone who served in government, sort of, because you're in Senate, what would make a president, or even, let's say, maybe the president listens, but the people he works around have a justification of how it's going to work, so maybe he allows it. But what would make an administration so tone deaf to public participation? It's not working. To the report, fine, we wanted 200,000, we cannot deliver, it's not working. Okay, the architect said this is impossible. No, it must work. What would make a system so tone deaf?
It's pure arrogance. You can't lead people like that. You can't lead people like they can't think. People are not foolish. You can't do that. Even if you had a manifesto that you wanted to provide these things, and when push comes to shove, it's time to do them and it's not working, you should have the flexibility of taking advice and listening to people. Yeah. But it also means that even at manifesto level, they didn't know how to deliver. That's also a sign. It's one thing putting ideas on a piece of paper and tell Kenyans, I will do this for you. I will do this for you. It's second to actually do it, So maybe they had these ideas on their manifesto in paper. It sounded very good, but they had no clue how to deliver. So when they got the instruments of power, they are scrambling with, how do we do this? How do we do this? How do we do this? This is supposed to be our legacy, and maybe that was supposed to be his legacy. And now the legacy is refusing. Yet all he needed to do was just come down from his pedestal and see, okay, fine. I have wrongly conceptualized this thing. Put experts in a room and tell them, how can we change the landscape of housing in the country? It's a fact that construction industry can offer a lot of jobs. That's a fact. Yeah, it's an industry that can spur horizontally a lot of work. People working from windows, doors, electrical, mechanical, plumbing, you can name it. Yeah. Roads, network, infrastructure. A whole lot of Kenyans will be busy. But how to do it, they had no clue. When advisory was offered, we offered ourselves, even as the Architects Alliance, and said, can we sit down and think through this thing properly? That was not welcome. Why? Maybe we were not shareholders. Some of us clearly were not shareholders. We were not invited to come and speak on the table. That is arrogance. That is somebody not understanding. You already have the instruments of power. We are no longer politicking. Now is to get things done. If you need things done, you draw from Kenyans. You don't draw from political lines, how we voted. You draw experts from Kenyans so that you can get your agenda going. But you're so arrogant. You think you're going to just have your way with human beings. Wrong timing.
Not working.
Kwanza, wrong timing. We are in the information age. We're in the technology age. Gone are the days when, you just make, what do you call them, those rooftop,
statements.
Car rooftop proclamations and think it will be the way. People so attuned to what's happening. People have become politically aware thanks to our Gen Zs. Our Gen Zs have woken up Kenyans from all walks of life to just take a keen interest on really what is happening. So Kenyans are aware. So you are not going to sell lies and nonsense. If you don't know, you don't know.
And if it's not working, it's not.
If it's not working, it's not working. You can't pretend, you can't lie. Because the minute you say it's working, the videos come from across the country telling you, where is it working? It's not working.
And one of those things that, again, is having challenges, or rather people have said is not working, is SHA.
That's another
And
one.
I actually don't know how it's working with mental health patients.
I don't even want to know. Because it's already so bad, even with general ailments. Look at the ones, renal patients and the ones who have that, constant care that is going on and how they're crying right now. What will happen to the mental health, patients who already are not quite fully in the system? Remember, this is what we were fighting for in the last parliament, is for inclusion and mainstreaming of mental health into the healthcare system, because it has always been put on the side, like it's specialized. And we're saying, no, it needs to be mainstream. You need to be treating mental health alongside with all the other illnesses. And we still hadn't, by the time I left, mental health was not yet mainstream. So I shudder at what is happening right now. If SHA, you cannot avail just basic services with your SHA card, or is it SHIP? I don't know. With your card, then I fear for the ones who would have been relying on, say, NHIF to get access for mental health. I fear for them. It means there's a gap. It means there's a serious gap. It's really unfortunate.
Every time I speak to people and these issues just revolve around the same thing. We still come back to the same. And it becomes very painful to talk about stories when you've seen issues of people really on the down spiral. We were working on a documentary about GBV in the country. And the president there, they formed a task force to, research on gender-based violence and femicide. Yes. So would that still be something connected to what is happening in the country, even as they do their research?
Yes, I remember when we were in Parliament and during COVID time. Remember COVID time?
Yeah.
And there were lockdowns. And in fact, in some places, there were serious curfews. I think it was in Mombasa, there was a section of Mombasa town that had been completely locked down. The citizens could not leave or come back. And I think some parts of Nairobi, if I'm not wrong, I can't remember, my memory is not serving.
It's 5 years already.
Yeah, let me tell you, we saw a spike in gender-based violence. We saw a spike on violence towards children. We saw a spike on mental health issues when human beings are confined. And it is not a joke. Now, in today's time, you can say there's still that feeling of confinement because you have no money to do anything. The economy is such that your capacity has been removed as a human being to exist and to do your things. There's no difference. The frustrations that people are going through every day will be meted on the first people who are at home. So GBV goes up. And these days it's both ways, yeah? It's towards the men and it's towards the female. The men suffer more because they don't talk much about their challenges. The women tend to come out, so the issues are dealt with. The men don't have avenues, or they're shy to speak up because of course, our patriarchal, backgrounds where men are supposed to be, tough. So you find that men take their lives away more than women because they don't have those channels of dealing with such frustrations. But you can see couples fighting. You can see violence in the home. And it is out of these frustrations that they cause mental health issues. And the first ones who are affected are the people around you. Even by the time somebody goes out to hunt for people in the streets, it first starts at home. So that gender-based violence, yes, would be on the increase if our economy is doing so poorly.
Do you think the president understands that for him to even get a task force?
I don't know. I wouldn't know whether he understands it or not.
Not even him. Let's say the administration would put a 1+1. Because you see, if you're having people being killed and others dying by suicide, then you want a task force to research. Is it hard to connect 1+1?
Oh, I get your question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it means It's a sign that there's a clear lack of, no, there's a full disconnection. It's like you're so disconnected from what the citizens are going through, yet you're supposed to be the one showing them the way. It's a total disconnect. That's what it means. It's also a sign that we may have a person sitting as president who does not take advice. It's also a sign. Because there's no way you can tell me there's no intelligence that has been brought to him that is telling him Kenyans are suffering because of this, because of that, because of that. I don't believe that he's not informed. I believe he's very well informed and probably on a daily basis. Our government civil service, we have a good civil service, and they understand things, and they always give advice. That one I saw, even when we were in parliament. When the parliament staff who are there, very quick to advise parliamentarians. Of course, those who are ready to take the advice. The question is, what do you do with the advice? But they're there, they're experienced, they understand matters, governance, policy, because that is their work. That's what they've been trained for. Okay? And they are also citizens, so they understand what the citizens need, want, feel, get.
Yeah.
So you find that there are people within the civil service who give advice. The question is, those who are politically appointed, because that's where the disconnect now comes. Because every electoral cycle, you bring in a new CS and PS. Kwanza these days, I don't know why PSs have become political appointees. I think that's a very big mistake. And as a country, we need to deal with that. PSs should not be political appointees. PSs should be drawn, or even if they're political, but they should be drawn from within the ministry. They should be career within the ministry because they've understood how the ministry works on policy level and financing level. But you bring this guy who was campaigning in somewhere in the corner of the country,
Wamunyoro, or wherever,
and all his life, hiyo ndio kazi alikuwa anafanya, and you bring him to become your PS, and the PS is the accounting officer. Remember, that's where the accounts pass through, and you make him now a PS. I mean, how have we helped ourselves as a country? But this is where the disconnect comes, because you find there are people in the ministry who understand what needs to be done, and they're always giving their advice. That one is true. I've seen it. They're constantly giving their advice. But then the politician will look at this advice and probably think, how will this benefit me? How will I eat from it? How is this helping me? I only want the things that will bring, certain effects that then are
beneficial,
beautiful and beneficial to me. So you put aside the advisory. That is where the biggest disconnect happens. And it is very unfortunate. So it also lends to the fact that the president, as he's running for office, he has the people who win him the election, and he uses the same people to run government. That's a big mistake. The people who win you an election are not necessarily the correct people to help you run government. Two different things. Two very different
every person
things.
running for president needs to get that.
Those are two very different things. Running government is a totally different thing. And unfortunately, this administration has demonstrated that they have no clue how to run a government. It's very unfortunate.
Wow. Some of the other political appointees is like what you had been nominated for as a senator. Like you can be nominated as a senator, MP, whatever. Yes. What does it take for someone to be nominated? And are there any checks and balances for value addition except for numbers?
So first, nominations is good that our listeners and viewers understand that the whole purpose of nominations has been researched in the Constitution. Was for affirmative action. Increased number of women, increased youth representation, and people living with disabilities. So nominations come for those three categories. Yeah, you don't find nominations for men. You're either a woman, a person, a youth, so either a boy or a girl, a young man or woman, or person living with disabilities, could be male or female.
Okay.
Yeah, but those are the three categories. And they are purely for affirmative action, so that we have representation in the parliament. That is the purpose of nominations. And how they happen now, there's a formula, all right? There's a formula set by the political parties. What's that organization called? Political Parties.
PPP. Office of the
Registrar of Political Parties. Yes. So there's a formula. And so what happens is when you finish your primaries, when each party finishes its primary, it begins to create its lists. That is list of members of parliament, senators. From president, you have your list of now those candidates now who will go on the ballot paper, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you finish your primaries, you start collecting your lists. And in that list, you also give lists of nominees for women, nominees for people living with disabilities, and nominees for youth. So the list that is now filed with the political parties, because that's where the list is first filed before it goes to IEBC, must have all the candidates now from all areas that candidates have been filled by that political party, those who have won their primaries, all of them, including your presidential, senate, governors, meaning all your list goes down. And at the bottom there, you have your list of nominees, National Assembly to Senate, all of them lined up there. And I think they're usually five names.
For each party?
There are more.
No, yeah.
I think there are more.
So it's very important where you
lie
you come in on that
list really matters.
Wow, okay.
So I was number 2 in the wiper list. So of course,
so that's why you missed for this time. Okay.
Had we performed better, and this is now the challenge when we have coalition building, because how Azimio fielded its members, now there was a bit of stepping on each other's toes, because then you have your affiliate parties are also fielding candidates in certain places. You couldn't zone out. You say there's no zoning, which means ODM could have fielded, candidates within wiper zone, and others could come and field.
No, take me back on that one. When you have a coalition,
yes,
does it still operate like that? Your party, which is wiper, my party, which is UDM, ODM, or does now Azimio file as a block?
No, we still were working as individual parties under the coalition.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was the agreement.
But it's shared, the number of slots given by Office of the
Political Party.
IBC? Yes.
No, you perform now individually as a party, but in parliament, when numbers are being counted, you're counted under the coalition. It's important for parliamentary parliamentary group
meetings.
Yeah,
and also minority, majority.
Exactly. So minority plays out now under a coalition. Yeah, but individually, you still have to fill your own and perform as an individual party. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's how it happens. And how do you get onto the nomination list? For anyone of our viewers who is interested, you have to participate in party. Now, this is where a party becomes critical. And because our constitution envisages for you to participate in politics and governance through political parties as the vehicles into governance, yeah? So you have to participate. So I always encourage you have to find a party that speaks to your heart, and you go and you pick mbele hapo, fanya kazi, and make sure your head is popping. That way, then you can be considered for a nominated slot.
And I think it's time for the youth to do that.
They must.
Because they're pushing, I feel like as young people, we're pushing for change. But every time a party presents, we are like, no, we don't want that. Yeah. Then now that means we can't make any change without being in any party.
And I completely understand the argument. I've listened to this many times. I mean, they've come before me and they've said, Sylvia, we don't want to enter into wiper. If we enter into wiper, we'll be put in the youth league and we'll disappear there.
Yes.
We will not be given an opportunity. So I've told them, at least for wiper party, we've had this conversation and we've said, we need the youth to participate at all levels. So the youth who is there and who is active right now, when we have our NDC, the National Delegates Conference comes and we are electing new positions, we want to see those who are interested in serving in those other bigger positions, because we are ready to open it up for them. Because we realize if we don't do that, even where is the longevity of the party, where is the lifeline of the party if we don't get the youths to come up into some of those positions? And we're happy to hold their hands even when they are there. Even if they're green and they've entered there, we will guide them.
But let me ask you, Sylvia, if today I joined wiper, genuinely, and then when we are doing the NDC, like I bring so many youth who are in support of me as the presidential candidate, and yet we know very well that Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka wants to run. Shall we compete genuinely, and I will get the posts?
Imagine you
Kalonzo.
will compete. You will compete. The
And
question
Kalonzo
is, will you
will
have
submit and
mobilized
allow
enough?
me to?
Yes, if you're a member of WIPA, he will. Because the NDC is supposed to endorse a presidential candidate. If at all you challenge, then it will happen. It happened in ODM. You forget ODM last election. The candidature of Raila was challenged. I think it was who wanted also to run for president under ODM.
Which we know how it ended.
In the end, it's politics. So
Yes.
even you, when you come at that, if you want to compete at that level, then you have to be ready to compete at that level. You have to come with all the instruments of politics at that level. So at NDC,
the biggest problem for the youth at that level is that they don't have the money also, like the manpower
it's a challenge.
in
That
terms of
that is a challenge. What they have is numbers.
Yes.
And they must leverage on the numbers. And some of them we have advised them. Even create your own political parties. Kwani. Yeah.
Well, the process of registering parties is also becoming hectic.
No, it's not. It's not. The problem is when you try to isolate yourselves, then it becomes discriminatory. Of course, then you will not be registered. Think a little broadly and have a party that carries your aspirations. That's the important thing. Have a vehicle that carries your aspirations. And I can assure you, your aspirations are not only carried by young people. There are also older people who have your interest at heart and are ready to guide you. And they need them. The youth cannot function completely without the older generation. They need them. They need to be able to resource mobilize. How do you resource mobilize without the older generation? But the important thing they need to remember, and if they're listening and you're speaking to them, there's a huge constituency right now of older people who just want to support the young people. Yeah, it's how you package yourself and how you come. You come to me, I see you're organized, I get you some people immediately. What do you need? You need to have fillers in every part of the county. What do you need? Okay, this is the sort of budget. Okay, let's start raising money. It is possible. It is doable.
Yes.
But they have to organize themselves.
And do the work. Because it is work.
Yeah, it is work. Me, I won't do the work.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't have the energy to do the work. I can guide you. I can read through your documents and guide you and say, no, this one, no, maybe here, maybe move this way. That I can do. But I'm not doing the legwork.
Legwork has to be on the youth.
They have to do the legwork.
And they have the beautiful thing of technology.
Technology.
So
they're innovative.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to burn fuel these days to get a message across. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful time.
But then what do you think about the use of tech for fight for governance?
Beautiful. Beautiful. Even the American election was won on tech this time around. This time around, it was won on tech. And in forums like this one, like you're having here, sir, this is what won Trump his election, because he realized he needs to come out from mainstream campaigning and go into those back rooms of technology. That is the way of the future. And even our next election will be largely won through tech.
Do you think our quote-unquote old politicians that we have now in parliament and all these places of power, as they keep fighting the youth, do they understand the impact that these young people are having on these, say, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube spaces in terms of impacting the citizens with knowledge and civic education? Some do. A good number don't. And some are just in denial. They're just thinking, no, it's not happening. It's happening, but it won't affect me. You know, that mentality of, it's a denial. I call it denial. It's a denial. Yes, you can see it is going on, it's happening. But he still feels safe in his position and in his ways, in his old ways, that, no, we have not yet reached to where I will be affected. So he's free to, he feels he can still continue in his old ways. Those ones in denial will fall by the wayside in a really bad way. Watch out for this place, 2027 they will fall by the wayside. Yeah. You were one of the women leaders, of course, that was very impactful in the 12th Parliament, I mean the Senate for that matter, for the different things that you pushed, especially the Mental Health Act that was major. Do you feel the women leadership in Kenya is impactful enough overall? Or are women doing enough to, of course, not just impact women, but basically to impact the society as a whole? And is Kenya ready for a woman president also in that line? That's a good question.
Isolated, you can point to isolated cases of women making very significant impact in their communities. That I have seen myself. I've seen a few women groups who have genuinely transformed their spaces. I've seen MP women who are doing amazing work. I'd even like the Shombas, and you see how they fight for their people. I have seen a few nominated members also doing some incredible work, which can justify that women also hold their space and their position in leadership, and it should be encouraged. But on the other side, we have those who don't do much, and women are always judged extremely harshly in the world over. By the way, this is a global problem. I hope Kenyans do realize it's not just an Africa problem or a Kenya problem, or the fact that we come from such a patriarchal society background. It's a global thing where women are always judged harshly. A woman in a leadership position is expected to, or rather has to do a lot more than her male counterpart just to receive the same package, same accolade, same recognition. And it's one of those things that I doubt we'll ever really see an equalization on that fact. Now, the fact that women are judged so harshly means that the few who are not doing well, when they're judged, we are all put in the same pot. You have to really be unique that you are not put in that pot. But a lot of the times, the first instance is that then we are put into that pot of women who are not performing. And because of that, and I know this because of the BBI, when the BBI was going round, a lot of Kenyans felt that there's no need for the women rep position. Actually, I felt a bit sad that that was the feeling of Kenyans.
I think even to date it still is.
Yeah, but they don't see the point. But I've seen a few who have used their kit very well when it comes to empowering women, women groups, CBOs. Women easily organize themselves. So to support them is a very easy thing. It's very easy to support women in their activities. So there are women leaders who realize that and they leverage on it. Our women rep in Makueni has really understood that concept. You get women to organize themselves, and then it's easy now to direct the kitty because they have that kitty from the national government.
Was she rated proper by Infotrak?
Actually, I don't know when she was rated.
Because the best was a Kirinyaga woman rep called Njeri Minor. Yes.
Okay,
I
didn't check the women rep. But I know because of course I associated a lot of work down in Makueni. So I know how the women organize themselves very, very easily. The one thing that I will always fault women leaders is the fact that we still don't have free sanitary pads for our children. That one I don't understand. We have so much women representation now in Parliament with the 47 women reps who are very powerful, by the way, because they have a kitty. When you have a kitty, you're powerful.
Yeah.
You can move mountains. And then, of course, we have the women who are elected. We have the nominated women, the women senators, and nominated women. Why are we not able to just have the government supply sanitary pads to all our secondary schools without discriminating? It should be part of a school program. That's it. Why are we even now? Sanitary pads are used for election. So and so has come and she has come with a truckload of sanitary pads. Oh,
the most annoying part is when they even brand them.
Yeah, let's celebrate. What nonsense! That is for me one of the biggest failures of our women leaders. When we were in Senate, we tried to get zero rated. I remember it was Senator Halaki at that time. She was also nominated by Kanu. She really tried to push. She really pushed. Her agenda there was to zero rate everything sanitary pads and bring down the cost to almost nothing. But really, why can't it be a government program? This money that goes to NGCDF, money goes to where? Why can't we have a budget for sanitary pads for all our secondary schools? Delivered. No child should be left behind. Yeah. At least if they did that, they will have really secured the future for a lot of girls. Just that stroke alone. Not girls having to wait for the next day the women rep will come to our school to bring sanitary pads. But otherwise, I would say I wouldn't wish to see that position removed personally, because I've seen a few do a good job. The question is holding them accountable. You see, again, it falls back on the citizen. The reasons they were put there, the people who crafted our constitution and came up with this, is because there was a reason to put them there. Have we now reached a place where we can say, time has passed, we've achieved, so we remove? I don't think so. We still have very marginalized communities in our country, still very marginalized. We have a lot of communities where our children are, even eating is a problem, let alone sanitary pads. We still have a long way to go. Yeah. So my issue would be, can citizens then, cause accountability? If a woman rep has not done anything significant, please just remove her and put somebody else. If that one doesn't do, remove her and put somebody else until you get the right person.
And also have a constant IBC so you can do it as soon as possible without.
Yeah, talk about IBC. I think it was very deliberate that the IBC has not yet been constituted, because had it been constituted last year, a lot of MPs would have gone home. But when you speak with those IBC CEO and his team there, they will tell you the requests that came to remove MPs. Wengi wamekuwa wameenda nyumbani. I'm telling you.
And they might go before the year ends.
I'm telling you. Although the law around their recalling it has a bit of a challenge, because the National Assembly has never enacted a law on their recalling. It is there by constitution, which is envisaged, but it required a mechanism.
Oh, so that's
so there's a bit of a gap still there.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I know, right? But it's there for MCAs. MCAs can be recalled.
Oh.
Yeah, MCAs can be recalled.
Maybe people need to know that part also.
MCAs can be recalled. The law is there for them, but National Assembly has never crafted one for themselves. So I think it has been challenged severally in court, but it still falls back on the National Assembly to enact those laws.
Part 2 of my question. Do you think we will have a woman president in Kenya?
Not yet. Not 2027 at least.
I am here campaigning for Mother Karua, then you're telling me not 2027.
I think maybe we might see a deputy president maybe in the next 10 years. But
10, not even 2027 again.
No. I'm so sorry. I don't think we are there yet.
Wow.
I don't think we are there yet. I don't think we have seen a woman who Kenyans can truly identify with and rally behind. They have not yet shown themselves. They're hiding somewhere and they need to start coming out.
No, but we've had Ngilu came out.
Yeah, Ngilu was very
Karua
brave.
came out.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe and some others that I'm forgetting.
They came out, they didn't make it. It was not their time then. Yeah. But now who is there? Who would you think?
Martha said she's running again.
Yeah, but Martha cannot. She couldn't even bring Azimio votes from Mount Kenya. So which votes is she going to bring?
I mean, politics in Kenya has changed.
Not for some people.
Not for some people. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You've spoken about the government providing sanitary towels for kids, which they have not. And something else that has been key is the government planning using foreign aid, which has not even come. But we already know the budget for this year. Of course, they had planned. ARVs will come via USAID. Trump has come in and said, USAID put on hold. We ain't going to use our taxes to fund Africans. What's next?
Tujipange. President Uhuru, retired President Uhuru, was very right. How can we always be depending on others for our own internal problems? We have to get our act together. We have I think this government next budget is 4.2
trillion.
We have a 4.2 trillion budget for 50 million Kenyans. Surely we can organize ourselves. The problem we have, yes, we are paying high taxes. That we will have to deal with. But also we have a lot of excesses. We have unnecessary expenditure in this country. Nobody wants to deal with that expenditure. We are so busy trying to reward our cronies and our friends, we forget that we need to cut budgets and provide services to Kenya. And the longer picture will be, we'll all be enjoying. Even I don't know why we don't understand when we're in leadership. that you deny yourself now, okay, give the services, expand the tax base because you're giving services. Kenyans are happier and healthier, they work harder. You have more people now paying tax. You automatically expand the tax base. You have more money to tap from for more services and prosperity. Prosperity for everyone. We think too short term. That's our problem. We are thinking too short term. There's no long term thinking. Yeah? And it is really, really, really affecting us, as you can see, because our thought process is literally, it's not even 5-year cycles. It's like 3-year cycles. Because by the middle of that 3rd year, you're already thinking, I need to cross to the next election. So we are thinking too short term to get significant benefits to anything we are doing. Yeah. And that's a problem. We are not keeping a vision consistent for the country. President Kibaki had Vision 2030. It was a beautiful vision. Uhuru comes in and does it Big 5?
Big 4 agenda.
And that I don't know. Yeah. RUTO comes and does what?
What is it called? Bottom up economic better.
No, I don't know what that is. So
okay, yeah.
Something. Where is the collective vision of where the country should go?
I don't think we have a collective one.
Yeah, and therein lies our problem, Sarah, and it's a big problem. And whoever is the next president, if he doesn't realize that his agenda needs to be extremely transformative to the point where it's like we have to go to the drawing board and say, 10 years from now, we want our society to look like this. Or we say 30 years from now, we want our society to look like this. And we are the president or we are the leadership now that is beginning to put these strides into place in a manner to transform the nation and correct what is wrong. That is the sort of leadership we need to come in next. Yeah. And if those who are lining up are not understanding that that is their mandate, then we have really no country to hand over to our young people, and it is absolutely terrifying. But at least from where I sit, it's terrifying me. It's terrifying me that we don't even seem to have an idea of where we want our education system to take us. It's terrifying me. It's terrifying me that we are not understanding that healthcare is best approached through preventative. I'm shuddering that we are not thinking that way. That where we should be putting resources is through awareness creation, outward, sort of approach where you're sending community health workers to talk to Kenyans and teach them ways of staying clean, keeping your compound clean, whatever. Because we get our diseases now from the way we live. There are some places you walk into today and you're like, what? We're living in trash and in squalor. Yeah? We are not thinking in a long-term manner. And that is a tragedy we're having as a nation.
How do you think the Trump presidency will work along with, Africa at large, but Kenya?
Personally, I am happy, and this is very personal. I'm happy with what Trump has done. Cut the aid. Cut the shenanigans. Let him go make America great again. That is his duty. Who's going to make Kenya great again? And is Kenya's greatness dependent on other jurisdictions? Why? We are able. Kenyans are always celebrated for having incredible human resource, hardworking, resilient, forward-thinking, ready to learn. So why do we need other jurisdictions to help us? Who is going to make Kenya great again, is my question. Please, can America go and make America great again? Let them do their own things, their own way, in their own manner. Let them use their taxpayers' money the way they want. That is theirs. How is our tax being used here in Kenya? How is your tax, Sarah, being used? It's a question.
Painful.
Yeah, that's the question. I don't care what America is doing. I don't even want America to have any canoodling with this president. I don't want. What for? How does it help me as a Kenyan? How did it help me that RUTO went and sat on the president's seat in the White House? It brought nothing to me. Yeah, I don't care. My question is, you in leadership right now, what country am I leaving for my daughters? I'm looking at my daughters and I'm wondering, tuanze kutafuta pesa tuende university abroad ama tufanye nini? University hapa, lecturers are on strike constantly.
And they've not been paid.
They have not been paid. We don't know whether they will ever be paid. We don't know. They are pending bills right now. What happens to our youth in the university? I mean, what nonsense is this we are doing? What mediocrity have we become as a country? You know, Tumbo economics have to end. Somebody has to create a vision now for the country, for these young people.
And we look forward to better quality leadership in the coming days because what we have is not clearly working. But as we come to a conclusion, because I mean, Kenyan issues you will talk.
You can talk until, yes, you can talk so much.
I'll ask you how your thoughts on Raila Odinga's AUC chairmanship running rather.
Excuse me. I understand the need to end your political legacy on high note like an African AU leader. But at the same time, I'm thinking, you're going there when your own country here is not doing well. So I've had a view that I wish he would leave his legacy here than there, where his own country right now is not doing well. If his idea of stabilizing the country was to put ODM members in government or create a broad-based government, it was a misplaced idea. And it didn't solve anything. And by now we should know it didn't solve anything. And being the man with the power and the power that has been bestowed him by virtue of having amassed such a huge party that has a wide, following that follows and believes in him, I feel he has a duty to this country. And his legacy should be to create an environment that can bring that leader we are talking about, because he has the capacity to do that. I can see he really wants to go there. Maybe that's where his ambition is taking him, and I can only wish him well. But personally, why would you be chasing there when here is not okay? Is my question. Yeah. But I wish him well.
We wish him well.
Yeah.
You've asked a question, and I remember one of the cabinet, what are they called? Cabinets. One of the CSs, yes. Muturi questioning why the president wants to negotiate about the Congo, Rwanda, M23 conflict, yet he's abducting, his government is abducting kids.
Yeah, the ills are happening here.
Yeah, so it's very critical to think about. These are questions sometimes I just want to ask people who come here. Are you in a position to name one positive thing the president has done? Because I feel like people complain so much and maybe we miss the positives.
There might be something.
Taran, let me put for your timer.
Let me tell you something I like, yeah? I'm an environmentalist. I might have forgotten to tell you. We have a program where we are growing trees, and we call it growing trees in the lower eastern side of Mwangi. We want to transform that semi-arid into a lush green in the next 15 years. And we know it's possible because we have a university called Kenya University in the heart of lower eastern Mwangi in Kibwezi, where you would never imagine you can have an oasis of trees. And in the last 10 years, we've transformed that environment into something unbelievable. You drive through, dry, and you end up in Kenya University, you find an unbelievable green oasis that actually now has its own rainfall pattern. We're actually going to document that this year. We have our own rainfall pattern because of trees. We've been growing trees for the last 13 years. So we started to upscale our program now from the university, and we're using now the university to teach our community on how to grow trees. We have even a marathon, which we are running just to raise awareness and raise some money. And we got the community to plant the trees. We give them trees because you have to plant trees that can survive there. The marubaines, the acacias, and the others. So we have 5 types of trees, which are the only ones we propagate for that area. And we have our community have become now seeds. They are the ones who propagate the seedlings for us. So we give them the seedlings and the seeds and everything. They propagate them. We come and buy the seedlings from them. And then we distribute them to schools, institutions, people like that. So every time we have this. So when the president launched a tree planting program, I think a year and a half ago, or is it 2 years ago, we were very excited about that. And we said, this is a good thing. Actually, that project was launched in Mwangi. He came down to Makueni to launch that project. And I said, maybe something good will come out of this. Yeah. But even with the government support we are receiving, now it has really gone down with our project. Very little is coming. And the focus seems to have dwindled a little bit. Although their policies are suggesting that we should be planting trees, and I know, is it 2 million trees?
I don't know. I just know he said the other day that he's done 750 million as a country.
No, that is not possible. That is not possible.
Technically, it means we have to plant 2 million trees every day.
Which is not possible. Yeah. Now those are exaggerations, and maybe that's where the lies come in. But the concept is actually a good thing.
Yeah.
And it just needed a sustainable program started, knowing that it will go on for the next 10 years. It has to be a sustainable program to go for the next 10 years. I think I've been very kind. At least there's one thing.
There's one thing. Oh, good. I'm happy. There are people who see nothing, actually. But I'm happy
I can understand.
Yes. So maybe your final message to our viewers.
Yes. Sarah, you made me understand that your viewers are young people.
Yes.
And I absolutely love engaging with young people. And young people need to understand that this country is theirs. Actually, this is their time. Let nobody lie to you. This is actually your time. There are people sitting there trying to usurp your time. Take your time and waste your time. This is your time as young people. Those of you who are 19 years and above, 18 and above, this is your time to engage in the public discourse and shape the narrative, shape the direction that the country should take. And you must participate. Find out how you can participate within the constitutional mechanism, leveraging, of course, on what you're good at, which is technology. And look for those of us who are like-minded as you. They're there. They're there who are like-minded as you. We hold your hand, we mentor you, and you rise to where you're supposed to be. We really do look to you, young people, for the future of this country. And I wish you all the best.
Yes, and with that, it's a reminder constant. The future is in our hands. IEBC is about to be in place, like fully in place. And my reminder to you, young person who's never taken an ID, go take your ID. Go register as a voter, because 2027 is the one and only chance you have to change this country. Absolutely. Or else wait until God knows when.
Absolutely.
So thanks for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed. I had such a fantastic time. Sylvia is full of wisdom, man. And I felt like I should just go on and on. But of course, I don't want to keep you here forever. So thanks for watching. Catch you on the next episodes.